if I give you like $2 million,
Okay, we'll take it.
right? But if I give you that money and ask you to buy a private waterfront estate with a deeded yacht dock.
You're going to look in Malibu.
Exactly. You're going to look in Malibu or, the Hamptons. You are probably not going to look in a cornfield-adjacent suburb like 30 minutes outside of Indianapolis.
Yeah, that's definitely not the first place that comes to mind.
But, well, you should be.
Yeah.
Okay, let's unpack this. Because today, we are taking a really granular look at a highly exclusive, almost hidden housing market.
Yeah, it's a fascinating area.
We're basing this on 2026 property listings and insights from luxury real estate broker Cara. We are looking at Geist, Indiana,
Right.
which is a community anchored entirely by a 1,900-acre reservoir.
It is a phenomenal case study, really. I mean, we have this ingrained idea that the monopoly on luxury water views belongs to, the edges of the country.
The coast.
Right, the coasts. But the dynamics playing out in the Midwest, specifically around this man-made body of water, are just a masterclass in supply, demand, and how the ultra-wealthy engineer their communities.
So our mission for this deep dive is to pull apart the mechanics of this hyper-competitive, super low inventory luxury market.
Yeah.
We want to understand exactly how the concept of lake life actually thrives in the Midwest. And I think more importantly, the invisible machinery that moves these multi-million-dollar properties behind closed doors.
The off-market stuff.
Exactly. So whether you are actively looking to buy or you're just, fascinated by the hidden economic forces shaping exclusive suburbs, this changes how you will look at suburban real estate.
Completely. And to really grasp the tension of this market, we have to start with the physical footprint.
Right.
Geist is not, it's not a neatly boxed-in neighborhood. It is this sprawling geographic area that bleeds across 3 different counties.
Hamilton, Marion, and Hancock.
Right. Exactly. Hamilton, Marion, and Hancock. And every single piece of premium infrastructure is oriented around this massive 1,900-acre body of water.
It's huge. And looking at the 2026 market data from Caraconde's portal, the numbers are, well, they're kind of jarring.
They really are.
Because across this entire sprawling 3-county area, there are only about 34 to 40 active listings.
Total.
The homes that do manage to hit the market, they're gone in an average of just 42 days.
Which is incredibly fast for luxury.
Yeah. We're seeing median sale prices sitting around $515,000, which is up 4% year over year, with active list prices frequently floating between $547,000 and $615,000.
Right, and that's just the median.
Exactly. Because if you want a true waterfront estate, you're starting at $800,000 and easily climbing into the multi-millions.
What's fascinating here is that we're looking at the ultimate example of geographic scarcity.
Okay, what do you mean by that?
Well, think about it. When you build a luxury community around, say, a golf course, if demand spikes, a developer can theoretically just buy the farmland next door, hire a landscape architect, and build another golf course.
Right, you can always build another clubhouse.
Exactly. But you cannot simply manufacture more shoreline.
Wait, I'm looking at these numbers and I'm not buying this scarcity argument entirely.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I mean, 1,900 acres is massive. If developers really wanted to maximize their profit on this intense demand, couldn't they just, dredge new inlets?
I see where you're going.
Or bulldoze some of the older, larger lots and build multifamily luxury high-rises right on the waterfront?
Right.
Why hasn't a major developer come in and completely disrupted this bottleneck?
Because you are bumping into the invisible wall of municipal zoning and environmental regulation.
Oh, red tape.
A lot of it. You can't just dig a trench and invite the reservoir into your backyard. The Geist Reservoir is managed water.
Oh, okay.
So there is a finite, highly measurable number of linear feet of waterfront.
It's physically capped.
Yes. Furthermore, the surrounding municipalities in Hamilton, Marion, and Hancock counties, they have strictly zoned this area to prevent that exact kind of high-density disruption you're talking about.
So no high-rises?
None. Once those shoreline lots were claimed and the custom estates were built, which, happened in a massive wave from the 2000s onward, the supply was capped permanently.
Wow.
So you have a steadily growing demand for Midwest luxury, colliding with an unexpandable geographic feature and ironclad zoning laws.
It creates a permanent, structural, seller-favorable market.
Exactly.
But, okay, if the public inventory is perpetually hovering around, 34 homes, and nobody who owns a dock ever wants to leave,
Right.
It begs a massive mechanical question. How do you actually buy a house here? I mean, it
Yeah.
seems statistically impossible to just wait for the perfect $2.5 million estate to pop up on Zillow.
Well, you don't wait for it to pop up on Zillow.
You don't.
No. In fact, if a premier property in Geist makes it to a public real estate website, something has often gone wrong.
Really? Like what?
Either the property has an issue, or the seller specifically wants a public bidding war. But the real business happens off-market.
Okay, enter Cara from Circle 8, LLC.
Yes.
The source material highlights her as a luxury broker who specializes specifically in these off-market Geist properties. And here's where it gets really interesting.
It's a whole different world.
It is.
Yeah.
Because off-market real estate isn't just like a secret menu at a drive-thru. It is way more like a corporate merger.
That's a great way to put it.
Right. Cara isn't waiting for a buyer to walk into an open house with a flyer. She's acting like an executive headhunter. She's looking at the exact specs of a highly desirable house, looking at her private black book of wealthy, vetted clients, and quietly brokering a marriage between the two before the public even knows a divorce happened.
If we connect this to the bigger picture of luxury commerce, we have to look at the mechanism of the multiple listing service, or the MLS.
Okay, the MLS.
Right. The MLS is the foundational data engine that feeds every major real estate website on the internet.
Zillow, Redfin, all of those.
Exactly. When you put a house on the MLS, it syndicates everywhere. It tracks how many days your home has been for sale. It broadcasts your property taxes. It shows floor plans.
It basically creates a massive digital footprint of your private life.
Precisely. Now think about the psychology from the seller's perspective.
Okay.
If you own a multi-million-dollar waterfront home in Admiral's Point, you might be open to selling.
Sure.
But you absolutely do not want photos of your master bathroom or your private art collection broadcast to the entire internet.
Yeah, I would hate that.
And you don't want strangers wandering through your home during an open house just to gawk at the architects.
Right, the looky-loos.
Exactly. You want a white glove approach. You want a broker who can bring you one single pre-vetted buyer who already has the capital ready to deploy.
But logistically, how does that actually work without public comps?
What do you mean?
Well, if I'm buying a normal house, the bank looks at the MLS, sees that 3 similar houses sold for, say, $500,000, and approves my mortgage.
Oh.
If these massive Geist estates are being traded in the shadows, how is anyone agreeing on the price? How do you appraise a private island, so to speak?
That is where the power of the private network comes in.
Okay.
Many of these transactions involve heavy cash positions, which completely bypasses the traditional bank appraisal process anyway.
Oh, of course. Cash is king.
Right. And when a mortgage is involved, luxury brokers work with specialized private appraisers who have access to the off-market transaction records that the public never sees.
So there's a shadow database, basically.
Essentially, yes. Cara business model thrives on this asymmetry of information. Buyers want access to her private inventory because it allows them to avoid the chaotic, stressful bidding wars of the public market.
And it grants them an aura of extreme exclusivity.
Exactly.
But it also means we have a bizarre dual economy happening right on the shoreline.
How so?
Because if these off-market deals are happening in the shadows, you might assume every single house touching Geist is a mega mansion.
Right, which isn't true.
No. Looking at the actual tax records and the public NLS data we do have, that is not true at all. Let's tour the tiers of this market, because the data reveals massive variances in what lake life actually costs and what it looks like.
The structural diversity of the housing stock is what actually makes Geist function as a full community.
Yeah. So we have these incredibly sought-after waterfront neighborhoods, places with names like Admiral's Point, Admiral's Bay, and Feather Cove.
The prime spots.
Right. The source notes these feature mostly custom builds, heavily integrated with modern smart home tech, heated pools, and, the holy grail of this entire region, private deeded docks.
Yes, the deeded dock is everything.
But look at the pricing discrepancies here. We see a listing on Hidden Point Drive, a 5-bedroom, 6-bathroom estate, sitting at $2.15 million.
Okay.
Then we see another absolute behemoth of a property on Frontgate Lane. It has 6 beds, 10 baths, and nearly 12,000 square feet.
Wow, 12,000.
Yeah, but it is listed for just under $1.3 million. How does a house that is double the size cost almost $1 million less?
This is where we have to separate square footage from waterfront utility.
Okay, break that down for me.
In a market like Geist, the physical house is often secondary to the water access. The 12,000 square foot behemoth on Frontgate Lane might be tucked back into a shallow secondary cove where the water level fluctuates.
Ah,
Or it might lack the deep water dock required for a large pontoon boat.
so you have a huge house, but you can't park your boat.
Exactly. Whereas the smaller $2.15 million estate on Hidden Point Drive likely has unobstructed main body water views with deep year-round navigable water access.
That makes perfect sense.
The premium is placed on the linear feet of usable shoreline, not just the drywall.
The water is the actual commodity.
Exactly.
And the contrast gets even sharper when we look at the entry-level tier.
Right.
Because the data shows us a 2-bedroom, 3-bathroom condo on Castleton Farms North Drive, about 1,400 square feet,
Yeah.
listed for just $210,000.
That's a huge jump down.
Yeah. There's another property on Leasering Circle for $219,000. So my question is, if you are buying that $210,000 condo, do you actually get to experience the same lake life as the person living in the $2 million estate in Admirals Bay?
It's a valid question.
Or is the water culturally and physically walled off for the ultra-wealthy?
The reality in Geist is this highly engineered balance between extreme privacy and a shared atmosphere.
Okay.
If you own the $2 million estate with a deeded dock, your interaction with the water is entirely frictionless. You walk out your back door, step onto your boat, and you are on the water.
Ultimate convenience.
Right. The condo owner does not have that luxury. They're dealing with public marinas, wait lists for boat slips, and public access points.
That sounds like a lot of friction.
It is, but culturally, the community actively promotes a shared suburban tranquility.
Are they actually sharing the same spaces, though?
They are. The source outlines how the lake life identity isn't strictly confined to just the shoreline. It permeates the entire zip code. Yeah. There are year-round outdoor recreational activities, public access points for kayaking, canoeing, and fishing that don't require a private dock.
Nice.
There are low-key neighborhood gatherings and community events that bring the condo owners and the estate owners to the same waterfront parks.
So it's a mix.
The water acts as a cultural anchor for everyone, even if the physical access mechanisms are fiercely divided by property lines.
That's fascinating. But, a beautiful house and a cultural anchor are great, but they're not enough to sustain a highly insulated premium society over decades.
No, you need infrastructure.
Right. People
Yeah.
still have to live their daily lives. They have to commute. They have to educate their kids. They have to pay taxes. We have to look at the ecosystem supporting Geist.
Because that is what actually protects these property values when the housing market fluctuates.
Exactly.
And the foundational pillar of any premium suburban ecosystem, regardless of the amenities, is the local school district. It is the ultimate economic moat.
And the source material explicitly points to education as a massive draw for Geist. The area is primarily served by Hamilton Southeastern schools, which holds an A+ rating from Niche.
Just top tier.
Right. It consistently ranks among Indiana's absolute best for academics, STEM programs, and graduation rates at places like Fishers High and Hamilton Southeastern High.
Yep.
And if families want private options, elite institutions like Cathedral High School and Park Tudor are highly accessible from there, too.
We really need to look at the mechanics of how top-tier schools function in a luxury real estate market.
Let's do it.
Excellent public schools create a permanent secondary buyer pool. You have a constant renewing pipeline of high-earning families, doctors, and executives who are desperate to move into the district for the education alone.
Even if they hate the water.
Exactly. They might not care about boating at all. They might never set foot on the reservoir, but they will pay a massive premium to live in Admirals Point purely to secure that high school feeder pattern.
That makes total sense.
That constant demand floors the property values, ensuring that even in an economic downturn, a Geist home holds its worth.
Then you layer in the financial and lifestyle ecosystem. Geist sits largely in Hamilton County.
Right.
And the source notes that the cost of living and the property taxes here are highly competitive, often lower than equivalent luxury tiers in neighboring Carmel or Fishers.
It's a huge financial incentive.
Yeah, you get all of this insulation, the schools, the lake,
Yeah.
and you are still only a 20 to 30-minute commute to the major economic hub of downtown Indianapolis.
They have engineered the suburban ideal insulation without isolation.
I love that phrase. So what does this all mean? Throughout the source data, Geist is constantly compared to its Hamilton County neighbors, Fishers and Carmel.
Very common comparisons.
Right, but looking at the infrastructure, the vibe seems completely contradictory.
How so?
Well, Carmel feels like a polished, bustling resort town with walkable arts districts and roundabouts everywhere.
Oh, the roundabouts, yes.
And Fishers is a masterclass in aggressive commercial expansion and tech park development. But Geist sounds more like a private gated national park that just happens to have mansions in it.
This raises an important question about how modern suburbs consciously engineer their identities to attract specific types of wealth.
Okay.
You hit the nail on the head. Carmel chose to build polished, European-style walkable centers. Fishers chose aggressive corporate growth. Geist has stubbornly tied its entire identity to serenity and water.
It's very intentional.
Very. By actively rejecting the dense urban growth model of its neighbors, by refusing to overdevelop its commercial footprint, Geist guarantees its status as an enclave.
But they do have some commercial life. I mean, they haven't completely walled off the outside world.
They haven't, but the commercial life they do allow is fiercely local and scaled to serve the immediate community rather than, draw massive regional traffic.
Right, the source material mentions a few highly specific local staples.
Like what?
You have the famous sirloin steak tacos at Wolfie's Grill, right there in the Geist location.
Oh, yeah.
Craft brews at the Ale Emporium,
Yeah.
wine tastings out at Daniel's Vineyard. They've curated a very specific, leisurely commercial footprint.
Very targeted to that demographic.
Exactly. Though the source did note a piece of local history, a beloved spot called St. Yard Ethiopian Restaurant permanently closed its doors back in 2022.
That's a shame.
It is. And it's a reminder that even inside a highly affluent, insulated bubble, local businesses are still tethered to broader economic realities.
Exactly. The commercial zones exist to support the residents, not to redefine the area. The overarching identity of Geist remains the scarcity of the landscape.
Which brings us full circle to the mechanics of this hidden oasis. We started by looking at the sheer geographic scarcity of a 1,900-acre reservoir that has firmly capped the housing supply.
Creating an environment where 34 active listings is considered the norm.
Right. And we dug into the hidden machinery of off-market real estate, where brokers like Cara operate like corporate headhunters, using private networks and cash deals to protect the anonymity of the ultra-wealthy.
We also unpacked the bizarre dual economy of the shoreline, explaining how property values are dictated not just by the square footage of the home, but by the linear feet of navigable deep-water access.
Yes, the $1.3 million versus $2.1 million difference.
Exactly. And we saw how the A-plus rating of Hamilton Southeastern schools acts as an invisible financial moat, protecting those multi-million-dollar investments regardless of whether the buyer ever actually buys a boat.
The next time you drive through your own city and wonder why you never see for sale signs in front of the absolute best houses, this is why.
Yep.
The public market you see on your phone, the Zillow notifications you get, that is just the tip of the iceberg. The most premium real estate is moving through whisper networks, off-market channels, and private appraisers.
It's a whole different game.
The dynamics of supply, demand, and engineered exclusivity are happening in your backyard, just at different scales.
The mechanics of scarcity are universal. But before we wrap up, there is one final concept regarding Geist that requires some deep consideration.
Ooh, what's that?
We have spent this entire time analyzing how this community's identity, its extreme property values, and its fiercely protected lifestyle are entirely anchored to a single 1,900-acre body of water.
It is the literal and economic engine of the entire three-county area.
Yes. But as you look at real estate trends over the coming decades, consider the physical reality of a man-made reservoir.
Oh.
Maintaining 1,900 acres of managed water requires constant, expensive intervention. It requires dredging, dam maintenance, and complex algae control.
That sounds like a lot of upkeep.
It is. What happens to the multi-million-dollar lake life bubble when environmental shifts, deferred infrastructure maintenance, or changing climate factors inevitably alter the water level?
Oh, wow.
If the water drops 3 feet, those $2 million deep-water docks are suddenly sitting in the mud.
Wow. When the anchor itself starts to dry up,
Exactly.
it completely reframes the risk profile. Because at the end of the day, whether you are buying on the sheer cliffs of Malibu or you are quietly navigating the complex off-market waters of an exclusive Midwest luxury suburb, you are ultimately just at the mercy of the water.